Hi everyone, good Friday afternoon and welcome to GoLocal Live. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for tuning in to get your weekend started here. I have a face I think most folks would know. Ken Block in studio to talk with us a little bit about some legal action he took a first step with yesterday by reaching out to the Rhode Island Attorney General and the U.S. Attorney. Ken, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it, and if you have read the story, we can catch you up, if not, as to what took place and why Ken is taking legal action, asking the Attorney General and the U.S. Attorney to look into the city of Warwick for some very specific reasons.
Yeah, so a year ago yesterday, I was sitting in my office minding my own business. Well, I wasn't necessarily minding my own business. I had spent a good part of the summer looking into very suspect problems with the finances of the Warwick Fire Department. And over the course of that summer, we brought out a number of different issues where the firefighters were being compensated in ways that the contract didn't discuss. So they were getting money they shouldn't have been receiving. So on this particular morning a year ago yesterday, I was minding my own business at that time at my desk, and someone knocked on the door, and it was the fire inspector for the city of Warwick, who asked if he could come in because he had received a non-specific anonymous complaint about a fire code violation, but he didn't really know what it was. So I let him in, and he walked through the office, and then he left. Of course, I don't own this building. This building is owned by my landlord, so he was less than thrilled with this whole episode. And I immediately went on the radio to discuss the fact that with all of the front page stories that were coming out about our findings with Warwick, that I got this inspection smack dab in the middle of it. Next thing I knew, the next morning, I was again minding, well, I probably wasn't really minding my own business. I was stirring things up because of the inspection, and someone knocked on my door. And it was actually the mayor of Warwick who wanted to come in because I had really stirred things up with the media the day before, and he wanted to see for himself what the fire inspector, that's what he told me, what the fire inspector had seen. So the mayor came in, he walked through my office, and he stood literally like you and I right now, and he looked me right in the eye, and he said, "I'm going to get to the bottom of this, and I will get back to you." So I waited for a year. He never got back to me, but in the course of that year, and 2 days, I think 1 or 2 days after the mayor visited me, I got a visit from the city tax assessor, who knocked on my door and asked to come in because she wanted to ask questions about one of the 3 businesses that I had located in that office. I politely but firmly told her to leave, and I was already pretty upset and angry about this, and then that really sealed the deal for me. So I gave the mayor a year to get back to me and tell me what had happened and if it was wrong and what they were going to do. Never heard from him again. And to celebrate the 1-year anniversary, I decided that I would file formal complaints with the U.S. Attorney's Office and with the Attorney General's office in Rhode Island. 2 different offices. A lot of people don't understand. The U.S. Attorney is the federal head law enforcement person in the state of Rhode Island, and the Attorney General is an elected official who is the head law enforcement person for the state of Rhode Island. I sent them both the same letter, and in that letter I asked them to determine if the inspection that was done by the fire inspector was legal. I believe it could very well be an illegal search because my office and every other business that's in the building that I'm in is not open to the public. We don't have retail operations. The only people who come in and out of my office are my employees and sometimes the UPS guy. So if somebody is going to have seen a code violation and then they were going to call it in, and it was bad enough for them to do so, why would they be non-specific about what that code violation was? And I did ask the UPS guy, I said, "Did you do this?" And he laughed at me and said, "No." He said, "Why couldn't you use the FedEx guy instead?" Right? Because, so it's ludicrous that this whole thing was done anonymously, right? It was set up as a fishing expedition. They didn't have anything, but they wanted to come in and see if they could find something. Solomon comes through, and then the next day after that, then comes the tax assessor. So these are crystal clear messages being sent to me by the city of Warwick saying, butt out, and if you don't, we're going to make your life difficult. So I laid all that out in my letter to both the Attorney General and the U.S. Attorney, and I asked them to look at and help decide whether that was an illegal search when they came in without justification to my office. I also asked them to look into and determine whether or not I was the victim of intimidation and whether it represented an abuse of power on the part of these Warwick elected and appointed officials who used their positions of power to what I believe happened. They did that to intimidate me and to basically get me off of the what I've been working on. So it's not on. Look, and the worst part about all this is, look, I mean, it wasn't even my office, right? So they ginned up something that they found, and my landlord had to pay some money to fix whatever it was. But the point is that as Warwick, even though I don't live in Warwick, my business is in Warwick, and I pay 5 digits worth of taxes to the city of Warwick every year. The city of Warwick, in my opinion, took my tax dollars and weaponized them against me in the form of the fire inspector who came into my office to shut me up, I believe, and then in the form of the tax assessor who, while she never ended up doing anything, was clearly sent there as well to send me a follow-on message. You can talk if you want.
Well, here's my question in terms of the AG and the U.S. Attorney. Obviously, you've raised a number of big issues in the city of Warwick and elsewhere throughout the state. Is this, in your opinion, sort of a litmus test, if you will, for the powers of the legal constructs here in the state to look at, as you said, retribution, intimidation? If it could happen to you, does it set the precedent? It could happen to anybody. Is that kind of what you're going towards?
So I've actually heard from other individuals, some in Warwick and some in other places, that in their roles as activists or whatever, what their issue was when they banged up against City Hall, literally, some of them received similar treatment in Warwick and in some other places. Look, it's an issue of public integrity. And the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Rhode Island Attorney General's office both have offices of public integrity. This is an issue that should be looked at. Most people can follow the travel of what happened to me and understand that what they're looking at was not on the up and up, right? This was an abuse. Was it enough of an abuse to trigger legal repercussions? And will they be held accountable for their actions, right? I think it's really important. Now, look, I'm still in business. I haven't left Warwick at this point because it's important for me to be in a central location in the state. And I have 3 very different businesses crammed into those office spaces, and it's hard to find a building that would serve the purpose for all the different places that are there. But I'll tell you something, what Warwick is doing to me sends a terrible message to the rest of the business community in Warwick. Because who wants to be in a situation where if they stick their head up, it gets chopped off?
So here's my question to you. If the U.S. Attorney and the Rhode Island Attorney General decide not to look into this for whatever reason, what would your reaction to that be then?
I'd be stunned, really, because this is, on its face, so obvious and so wrong. For this not to be even investigated would be surprising to me. It really would.
Well, we're going to continue to keep an eye on this. We'll have links to the piece yesterday. You can see Ken's letter that he sent to the AG and the U.S. Attorney. And speaking of things on GoLocal, we did cover the Rhode Island GOP is having an awards gala coming up in November. Ken Block is one of the honorees. We are probably, I think, well into the election cycle, looking at next year and beyond. Tell us a little bit about that. What was your response when you got the GOP award?
I thought it was great. I mean, they're recognizing me for, I'm being given the Oliver Hazard Perry Don't Give Up the Ship Award. And I believe they're recognizing just a lot of the watchdog type work that I've been involved with over the years. It's nice to be recognized for doing work. Everyone, I'd much rather get this award than the visit from the fire inspector. Okay, so yeah, I think it's great. I think it's a good way to recognize individuals in the party who work hard and are trying to make differences in whatever it is that they do. So, and I think it's a good way to try and get the party apparatus more engaged in things and to get people involved. I think it's great.
Well, I'm sure we'll have you in more on the political front in the not too distant future, again, as we're gearing up for 2020. But on the issue specifically of the city of Warwick, the letters to the U.S. Attorney and the Rhode Island Attorney General, wanting Ken Block to come in, tell you a little bit more about it. But of course, you can read it on GoLocal. And when there are developments, check back in with us. Ken Block, thank you for taking the time to
Thanks.
come in. And thank you for watching us here in studio. We'll see you next week back here downtown. But of course, in the meantime, find us on GoLocalProv.com. Find us on Facebook, and have a great weekend. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel.